If you're a man watching this video, there's a good chance you felt it. You know it. It's that feeling that you have that something's missing in your life. You wake up, go through the motions, but deep down, you keep asking yourself, what's the point? Well, my brother, you're not alone. Many men are struggling with that same question. And today, we're going to talk about why is this feeling of nothingness happening and what you can actually do about it. Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Dave Jenkins, and thank you for joining my channel, Dave Jenkins Coaching, where my goal is to help you reach your goals. So today we're going to tackle a very important question for men, and that stats behind this question are staggering. You see, we've been seeing an increase in male suicides, depression, anxiety, and more men than ever reporting that they're feeling disconnected from their purpose, from their family, from their community. This isn't just about a feeling. It's about understanding some fundamental things in terms of finding your purpose. What is your purpose? So let's take a look at what's going on, right? For generations, for a long time, men had a clear roadmap. You simply graduate from college or trade school or finish the military, then get a job, provide for a family, work for 40 years or so, and then retire. Very simple roadmap. Graduate, get a job, get married, work, retire. That blueprint gave men identity, purpose, and a clear sense of their role in society. They knew clearly what they had to do. But things have changed. It's time for us to take a real economic reality check. Number one, a college degree doesn't guarantee financial stability anymore. In home ownership, for some people it feels impossible. The prices of a home, the down payments, the financing, just totally out of their league. And starting a family nowadays requires 2 incomes minimum. And most of all, job security is a myth. I remember when I was growing up and I reached 19 or 20, started going to college, and I loved hanging around older men. These men had made their lives, they had worked their jobs, raised their families, and they were in retirement. And the consistent advice I got from them was to get in one place and stay. That was their biggest strategy. Well, that doesn't apply anymore. If your name isn't on the business, you don't have job security. So that leads me to my first point as we talk about understanding your purpose. We've got to get past this provider pressure paradox. Provider pressure paradox. Men are still expected to be providers, and that we should be. But the economic foundation that made that possible in the old paradigm is gone. We're competing with global markets now. There was a time it was just simply what you had to compete in a region, or at most in the US. There's AI that's also adding to the competition mix. There's economic uncertainty that's carrying things way in different directions than before. And most of all, the expectations and opportunities that used to exist a generation ago in terms of security, in terms of simplicity, aren't there. Another thing confusing men today is there's confusion about their role in society. The traditional masculine roles are being questioned, and rightfully so in some cases. We don't need toxic masculinity. We don't need narcissists. But here's what happened. We've torn down masculinity so that some men don't know how to really live in their masculinity. They get these mixed messages. They're told to be strong, but also be vulnerable. They're told to be a leader, but not dominant. They're told to be successful, but don't be materialistic. And express emotions? Nah, can't do that. Are you considered needy? These emotions individually aren't wrong, but without context or guidance, they create a paralysis. They keep a quandrum. They keep you just off balance. Let's talk about how we can move deeper into this, right? We've created what's essentially a crisis around manhood with all these different signals, with all these different changes. And here's what I believe is really happening. One of the reasons men aren't finding meaning in life is their commitment to Christ, their religious faith, as a whole across the American landscape is declining. Fewer men are finding church meaningful and a great place to make community. They're also not involved in community as well. There were times that men led community commitments and led community involvement. And there's also the lack of stable employment. Some men are having to find new jobs every 6 months to a year, maybe even shorter. And that pulls a drain. It really strains most men. So they're dealing with a vacuum. And when there's a vacuum, men will try to find a way to replace that emptiness, either by substance abuse, by toxic behaviors, relationship chaos, whatever it is. So how do we get back in line and find our values? Okay, let's talk a little bit about finding purpose through our values. That's what I meant to say. How do we find our purpose? Well, part of it is finding our value. Before you can find purpose, you need to understand actually who you are and not who you think you are. Who you are matters. Not by gauged by what society says or anything like that, even what your parents want or what looks good on social media, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. So I'm going to walk you through some things I want you to work on your own when you're finished with this. Number one, I want you to go through what's called a value exercise. I'm going to walk you through that step by step. And then we're going to identify some common themes that'll help you to move forward in understanding your purpose, right? So let's start with the skills inventory and values, right? What are you naturally good at? Think about that. What is it that you're naturally good at? And what skills have you developed either through work or hobbies or life experiences? And what problems, this is real important, what problems do people come to you to help them solve? All of these are indicators. All of these are things that are speaking to what you as a man have been created by God in your DNA to lead through, all right? The next thing that I want us to talk about is understanding how to get through this whole concept of consuming stuff. You're not just a consumer, whether it's in your life, whether it's in your finances. You and I are created to be makers. One of the things that's going to help you to develop an understanding of what your purpose is what I call skills inventory. Purpose isn't about passion. You've heard that over again. Find your passion, you find your purpose. That may not be true for everybody. What it's more about is what is your competence? What are those things that make you feel alive? What are those things you're good at that has an impact on others? So let's kind of do a little quick skills audit. What skills have you developed through work or hobbies or life experiences? And what are you naturally good at? And what problems do people come to you to solve? And what would you get good at if you really focused at it? So one of the things that some people teach is what's called the 1% rule. Instead of trying to find your one true calling, focus on getting 1% better by aligning your skills with your everyday values. Now, when you look at things and where they are, you need to build an identity portfolio. Stop trying, and some people will say don't do this, but I think it's really helpful. Don't try to find one singular purpose. Maybe you're multi-talent. Maybe there are a lot of different things that you do. There are some people who are good at one thing and they stay at that. But sometimes in today's life, you got to have an identity portfolio. And there's 4 pillars that you need in there. One is relationship. Whether you're a father, a brother, a friend, know your value as a relationship and be the best that you can in that. Work and career. How do you contribute professionally and financially toward work or building a business? And then personal growth. What are your physical, mental, and spiritual goals? And then lastly, service and community. How do you contribute beyond yourself? That's a major step toward finding your purpose. All right? So I want you to go ahead and complete the value, list your skills and strength, and then look at your 4 pillars and which one really needs attention. When you start doing those things, you'll begin to see pieces come together. Now, let me help some of us who are overthinkers, right? Because I'm definitely one of them. You're going to have some objections. Your subconscious, your mind, other people start telling you, don't listen to that. One of the objections you're going to get is, I don't know what I'm passionate about. What I would suggest that you do, instead of trying to figure out what you're passionate about, find out what you're curious about. Find out the things that you like to contribute to. And then follow what you're curious about and follow what you like to contribute to and see where that path leads you. Some people will say, well, you're too old or too young to start over, try to identify your purpose. Purpose isn't about starting over. It's about redirecting, moving from where you are to where you need to be. You're not building from scratch. Everything's already there. You've learned a lot of things. It's now putting it together to get you where you're going. And here's the biggest obstacle. I don't have time. I'm barely keeping it together at work. I'm barely keeping it together with the family. I'm barely keeping it together paying bills. If you're not careful, the things that you're barely keeping together will be the things you always do, and nothing will change. Look, I'm going to be very honest with you. Trying to find your purpose as a man in modern life is a little harder than it was in previous generations, but it's not impossible. Why? Because God wired you to live in your purpose. God wired you so that you can uncover your purpose. God wired you so that you can develop the things that He put you on this earth for. The things that I'm asking you to do will require committed prayer, committed dedication, and really, us a focus on God, speak to my heart. Maybe you need an accountability buddy to help you. Maybe you need somebody that's going to come alongside to help you see the blind spots. Here's my challenge for you. Over the next 5 days, 10 days, whatever it is, spend about 15 minutes a day